Hello everyone, this is Shannon here. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we are going to create this fun rainbow card using the new A2 Nesting Banners die, as well as the new Oversized Hugs Combo. We're going to start today's card by creating our rainbow banner. I have the new A2 Nesting Banners die set here. I'm going to grab the largest die from this set and place it on a piece of white cardstock and die cut it. As you can see, the set comes with a ton of dies, and I'm going to use every single one of them. I've grabbed the next largest and then the one after that, and I'm going to center them here on this large banner die cut. I'm going to grab one more and position it on my paper, and then I'll run it through my die cutting machine. This is what I'm going to do step by step, kind of slowly creating each one of these layers. I could do all of the dies at once, but I don't like to do that just in case any die shifts somehow when I run it through my die cutting machine. I just like to take kind of slow and steady so I don't mess anything up. So I'm now positioning a few more, running it through my die cutting machine, and when it gets smaller, it's a little bit easier. So for this last one, I just kind of did all the remaining dies, so I have all of my little thin banners cut. Now that all my frames are cut, I went ahead and also die cut a large base for my frames to adhere to. I'm going to add adhesive to this large base here with just a tape runner, and I'm going to cover the whole base with adhesive. Each one of those frames are very thin, so you want to make sure you get a fair amount of adhesive on here so all of those frames stick really well to it. So now that that banner is covered with adhesive, I'm going to put that aside and start to add color to my frames. I am careful to keep all my frames over on the left in order from largest to smallest. I don't want to get any out of order because I want to color these or add color to these frames in rainbow order. I'm using Pinkfresh Studio inks today, and I'm going to ink blend each one of these frames in a different color. I'm starting with a pink. This is Sparkling Rose, and I'm just going to quickly ink blend this, and once I have that blended and ready to go, I'll clean my work surface real quick and then grab that large banner and just position this frame down onto it, kind of matching all the edges up together, because these two should fit perfectly together because they're cut with the exact same die. So once I get that in place, I'll then grab the next frame, and then I'll ink blend. This is Passion Fruit, kind of a red color, and I'll ink blend all around this, and once again pop it in or inlay it onto that base, making sure to get those edges right up against each other because we have several frames to fit in here. So there are actually 16 frames here, and you could cut out fewer if you choose, if you don't want to mess around with so many little frames. But I do think it makes for a really pretty rainbow to have all those little stripes of color. I just think it really is really pretty. So I am just continuing to work my way through here, doing each banner or each little frame a different color. I do have 16 different inks picked out. You could color these frames lots of different ways. You could definitely use markers. So if you have a lot of different shades in markers, maybe that's a good way to go. You could also do this just kind of skip the adding color part and use colored cardstock as well. I just didn't think I had enough variety of cardstock to really pull off 16 shades, but I knew I had enough with my inks, so that's why I chose to do my inks today. So I'm just continuing to work my way through all these frames, ink blending each one a different color, and I've picked out all my colors beforehand. I just find that it's easier to kind of plan it all out before. If you're going to use markers instead, I suggest you do the same thing, kind of pick out all your 16 markers. So it's just so once you've made those color choices, you just get to color and then plug them, pop those, or inlay those frames right on into the base. So I'm finishing up here with my blues, and the very last color I'll do is purple. So just a couple more dark blues here, and then we're on to our last two, a couple purples. We're going to finish with lavender, and the very tiniest one we're going to do candy violet, and that will finish up our rainbow banner. I think it turned out so pretty. Love all the colors, and some of these inks will actually smooth out a little bit more in time. with time. So it gets to be a really beautiful, vibrant rainbow once it's done. So I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back side of my banner, and I'm going to adhere it down onto an A2 panel of white cardstock. Once I have that stuck down, I'm then going to grab a pair of scissors and just trim off the overhang. The grid pattern you see on the back of my cardstock is just because I'm basically recycling some cardstock here. This is damaged pieces of Waffle Flowers Creative monthly pack, which is really nice cardstock, so I'm just kind of recycling it. Once I have that done, I'm going to move on to stamping my sentiment. I have the Oversized Hugs stamp set. I'm just going to stamp a sub-sentiment onto some black cardstock in Versamark ink, dip it into some white embossing powder, and then heat set with my heat tool. And now that my sentiment is heat set, I went ahead and trimmed it down to a strip using a paper trimmer. And now I'm going to construct the rest of my sentiment. I went ahead and die cut 3 hugs using the Oversized Hugs word die out of some white cardstock. And I'm going to stack all these hugs on top of each other to create a stacked sentiment. This little bit of dimension is going to help that word kind of pop away from that rainbow background, which is a little bright and a little bit busy. So I'm just adding some liquid glue to each layer and then adhering the next hugs on top till I have all 3 hugs adhered together. So now that this stack sentiment is ready to go, I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back side of it and adhere it right down on top of my rainbow banner. So once I get that glue down there, I'll stick that down. I am going to hold it just for a second just to make sure that glue sets up just a bit so all those flourishy parts of the letters are nice and stuck down to the panel. So once that's all stuck, I'm going to adhere my sub-sentiment. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue right on the hugs itself and then place down my sub-sentiment. And with that, my panel is done. All I have to do now is adhere this onto my card base. So I'm just going to grab an A2 top folding white card base, add some liquid adhesive to the front of it, and then adhere my panel right down on top. And once that's set, this card is done. And now hold the card up to the camera so you can get a good look at our beautiful rainbow banner. Love, love all the thin frames and all the different colors. I just think it's so eye-catching and really draws you into the sentiment as well. And we have a nice dimension there just by stacking 3 of those Hugs word die cuts. Just kind of helps it pop away from that rainbow background. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you'd like any more information on the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel or giving me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.